Are you ready to learn how to get your federal job with your Schedule A letter? Then let's use it and not lose it. When I began applying for the federal government, I had the mindset that if I identified myself as disabled, my application would be flagged or earmarked deliberately and looked over just because I had a disability, because I would be labeled as less capable. But as I worked with a veteran who at the time was living in a shelter, recovering from eye surgery, I learned differently. He applied from jobs from coast to coast, uploading his disability verification letter each and every time. When he had an interview with a job in Texas, we weren't surprised. Others had interviews over the phone, and his was with the U.S. Forester Service as a counselor. But when he received an offer 5 states away from that phone conversation, we were all surprised and elated. He had a significant visual deficiency, and the agency's disability program manager discussed with him his start date and the visual supports he would need in order to begin his job. As a disabled veteran myself, there are multiple accommodations that benefit me in my daily work life. Now, as your personal career coach, let me plant this tiny seed in your mind. Who do you think has more disposable resources to accommodate your disability? ABC Tree Farm or the U.S. Forest Service? Now, one likely counts their inventory tree by tree by tree, and the other assesses their acreage of forest, not just one forest, but an entire country of forests. That's how you should look at who will be able to provide you with the resources that you will need to be a successful employee. Yes, the federal government, and they are hiring. Because I know there are going to be people out there too smart for their own good and will just listen to the story I just told you and then rush ahead to the process. Now, that's not how to turn your disability into an ability. That's how to make something really easy very difficult. In the comments, let me know how far you are with the Schedule A process. Did you have any problems getting your letter? Your likes and comments are important to me, and it builds our community, but it also lets YouTube know that I'm engaging you, which helps me reach others. For the purpose of catching you up and moving forward, I've previously covered in Part 1 and Part 2 in my disabilities playlist the steps you need to put in place prior to applying. The disabilities discussed here are those that impact you emotionally and cognitively, those invisible disabilities for which you have been diagnosed and treated. Now, maybe you receive SSI payments as an indicator of your disability, or you're in need of or have received learning supports. Maybe you've experienced severe depression, PTSD, anxiety, dyslexia, or you have an obsessive compulsive disorder. My emphasis is on these disabilities, not to minimize the physical disabilities that are apparent, but to emphasize that both disabilities are recognized by the federal government through a Schedule A letter written by your physician. When you're looking at work for the federal government, every advantage that you can use is to your benefit, and likely an impairment that sooner or later will be disclosed in the security clearance or evidence in your work process. Don't do as I did. Let me make it easy. The federal government wants smart people. And guess what? Smart people also have disabilities, all kinds of disabilities. And smart people turn their disabilities into an ability. Federal agencies and their hiring managers are required by law to provide reasonable accommodations to qualified applicants and employees with disabilities, unless doing so is an undue hardship to the agency, which goes back to my comparison in that tiny seed of the tree in the forest. Your tax-paying dollars ensures that our government has the resources needed to support its employees. The accommodations provided make it easier for an employee with a disability to successfully perform the duties of their position. As an example, The agency may offer interpreters, readers, or other personal assistance when needed. They can offer you modified position work duties or a flexible work schedule, which we've talked about, or other work sites, accessible technology, and a host of other workplace adaptive equipment, which I've used myself. Now, for those of you who are fully up to speed, let's keep it moving. As I stated, you have two approaches now that you have your documentation in place. The first approach, number one, is apply directly through USAJOBS.gov. You should begin to apply as soon as you have your USAJOBS profile completed. I can't emphasize enough, it's smart to be fully prepared. You may find the perfect position for which you're not only interested in, but you got to be ready to apply. And the agency is only accepting a number of applications, or that perfect job is only posted for a very limited amount of time. It could be a week or even less. It's important to prepare your application, profile, resume as thoroughly as possible on the front end. It's also smart to create a specified search on USA Jobs and receive positions that are earmarked for persons with disabilities. Now, I've talked before about diversifying your searches with regards to locations anywhere around the world. The same applies to positions earmarked for individuals with disabilities. Check out that video and receive those notices daily. Yes, every day. And follow them. Option number two, apply directly to the agency using your Schedule A process to support personnel. Now, most agencies have what's called Disability Program Managers, DPMs, or Selective Placement Program Coordinators, SPPCs, whose job is to help the agency recruit, which is look for you, hire, and accommodate people with disabilities. Now, I'm going to place the link in the content below for the OPM website where you'll be able to pick the state that you are seeking employment in, as well as the agency you are targeting. If there is a DPM or SPPC at the agency where you wish to work, what I want you to do is obtain that contact information for him or her. Now, from there, you will ask that manager, get on the phone, ask that manager for guidance for the best way to apply for the identified position vacancy using your Schedule A hiring process. And he or she will work with you to make sure that your resume and application are considered. If you qualify, listen to me. Whether you choose approach 1 or 2, I highly recommend you go through my tutorial playlist. There you'll find detailed steps and my own experiences for myself and others decoding insights on how best to set up your USA Jobs profile, how to get those keywords, creating your federal resume, and how to put your best foot forward. Because no matter which route you choose to go, you're going to need to prepare yourself to be the best qualified candidate for the position. Smart people, my advice here is don't miss the forest by focusing on the individual tree. Take approach 1 and approach 2 together. That way, you first apply for the position through the vacancy announcement, and you've done it thoroughly. Because the first question the SPM or the SPPC will likely ask you is, did you apply for the position that you're seeking? Also, don't set yourself up to look like an applicant awaiting everything to be handed to you on a silver platter. While you are in need of support, do what you can. It'll go a long way to demonstrate your motivation as well as your capabilities. Please, however, keep in mind, not all agencies have a disabilities program manager or a special placement program coordinator. So you may need to go that extra mile to self-advocate and speak with the human resources HR specialist identified on the vacancy announcement to the job that you're applying, which is why you will also want to have your Schedule A uploaded. Patience and a breathing exercise or two may be necessary in order for you to reach the agency's representative that you're seeking, especially with so many employees working from home, which is why I emphasize using a combination of approach 1 and 2. Irrespective of your eligibility to receive support via the Schedule A, If you miss that job opening deadline, there is nothing he or she can do for you. Now, to find out what happens after you submit your application, I'm going to need you to hit that subscribe button and notification bell. I'll be back, and I hope you will be too. Smart people, you have work to do. Bye-bye. Till next time, get to it.